Hi, I'm TBABY, I'm a dude, and today I'll be answering some Q&A questions while also giving some art advice, because most of the questions were about art. First of all, I want to thank everyone for 2,000 subscribers. That's crazy. Literally, didn't even know it was possible to do that in a week. Secondly, thanks so much for all of the fan art, which is even crazier. It's just like, wow, guys, you are all so talented. The speed paint for this video in particular is actually a draw this in your style. If you enter and if you win, you will get a fully rendered piece by me, which is awesome. It will be on the same level as my commissions, which are open. So hopping into the speed paint now, I first just want to talk a little bit about the art process, just to get it out the way. I struggled a lot to get a pose at first. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew going into it, I wanted to try something new with colors. I wanted to implement a traditional painting technique. I wanted to do like an underpainting almost for this digital piece, and you'll see that later. And it was a lot of tweaking with the colors, and it was a lot of rendering over and redoing, but we'll talk about it when we get there. So first, I want to get into some of the questions. Now, the first question I'll be answering is, what's some of your worst art pet peeves? Personally, I hate it when people believe their art has to look good or be conventional. I think most of the appeal in art for me is that you can do whatever you want. So like you can make it ugly, bright neon colors, super disturbing. It doesn't matter because it's art. And it like sucks a lot of times when I see people put themselves in these like boxes and that's their whole art world, and it's just like a really big unwillingness to experiment. And I see this especially in people who post art online, because everything is just up for review and critique at any moment, and I don't blame them for not wanting to experiment and go outside their comfort zone and stuff, but it's just like I feel like it's really discouraging sometimes as an artist, and I see a lot of people also get burnt out because of this. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over and you feel like there's no way to just reach out and try something new, at that point it's just like, what's even the point of art? And so another question I got is, what's your opinion on the TikTok art community? Ignoring the obvious, I don't really like it. There's not a lot of good that really comes out of the TikTok art community, which might sound hypocritical given I gained most of my following doing a TikTok trend. However, just like I said, ignoring all the surface level drama like art lore and just being toxic, TikTok as like a platform and creating on that platform is so unfulfilling. Like, you get tons of views fast, you get tons of likes, and you get tons of followers, but it all happens so fast and it ends just quickly. And it's just like, here's your 1 hour of engagement, now it's gone, post another video, good luck. And it's just like, so rarely do you see any long-term benefits, and there's just like absolutely no sense of community. And anytime you even engage with the community, it always feels like you're at risk of something. It's like, is this going to be another Pureka situation? Am I suddenly going to get art lord? It's just, there's so much to worry about on that platform. I feel like it's not even worth it anymore. That's why I'm like so excited about this YouTube stuff, because I feel like people can actually engage on YouTube, and it's just so much better to make. Because whenever I pick up my phone, I'm like, oh god, I gotta go make a TikTok now. But it's just like when I sit down and I have to record something for YouTube, it's just like so much more can be done, and it's just so much more magical. Next question, what's your weirdest art related encounter? This one I actually had to think about, because I don't really put myself in situations where weird stuff can happen, but very consistently I've had people ask to see my sketchbooks or what I'm doing, and I'll just straight up say no, right? Because I just don't want to show it to that person. But I feel like a lot of people, whenever they ask questions like that, feel a certain entitlement, like they should be able to see what you're working on. So after you kind of deny that, it kind of puts both of you in the situation where you're just kind of standing there awkwardly and you're waiting for like the other person to leave. This also happens when people ask me how to draw something, or if I can draw something for them. I'll just be like, no. And it's the same situation again. We're both just standing there waiting for the other person to leave. Another question I got is, do you do art in public and how? Are you shy about it, or does bro literally swing the MLP drawings around for everyone to see? Okay, my art online and my art offline are very different from each other. The stuff I make online usually stays online. I just like having me and the little men in my computer's time to ourselves. A lot of my My Little Pony stuff I will probably never bring off of this website. That being said, all of my traditional art, that's a whole different ball game, right? Because I do a lot of forms of art and just media in general. I'm also a musician. I've been asked to play multiple gigs a lot of times, but I've just been waiting to hone my skills. And there have been multiple times where I've played like guitar in public and I've sang in front of people. And it's just so much different than being online, because in person, you're never gonna have people just come up to you and be like, yeah, that was shit. That's just not gonna happen. Like, realistically, like, the one thing you have to do to put yourself out there and do art in public is you just have to cut off your brain when you do it. Because 9 times out of 10, you are psyching yourself out. Nothing bad is legitimately going to happen to you. You're just making yourself anxious and feel like you're going to explode. I know this. I have done it so many times. It doesn't matter how many times I perform in front of people, I will always feel like a sense of dread before I do it. And then when I go in and do it, it's like nothing bad would ever happen. And I get the same thing when I enter a lot of my paintings into like art contests. That's probably the best thing you can do if you make art traditionally, especially paintings, is just find out where art contests are being hosted around you and enter your piece in. Because the worst thing that's going to happen is they say no. And you know what you do? You move on and you find another gallery to put your artwork in. Because 9 times out of 10, you'll enter a piece and you'll low-key forget about it. I'm saying this from experience. You'll low-key forget about it. And then suddenly you have it come in the mail and it'll be like, hey, you placed first place. Here's a prize. And you're like, oh shit, a prize. But if you're just hung up about getting rejected about your art, you're never gonna get there. You just have to put yourself out there. That's like the best thing you can do. And like online is kind of the same sentiment. You really just have to put yourself out there for other people to view it. But there's a lot more complications with that. People are a lot meaner. You just have to have thick skin. I've also been asked, what programs of digital art have you tried? I have actually tried quite a few. For mobile, I have tried IBS Paint. I've tried Flip-a-Clip. I've also used Medibang on mobile as well. All of them are fine in their own respective things. I don't have any like Apple products, so I don't know anything on the iPad. I don't do any Procreate just because that's like money, I think. But for PC, I've also tried Krita, Medibang, Clip Studio Paint. I've done a fair share of artworks in MS Paint. I don't know why I keep going back to that hellbent program, but I do. And also Sprite. If you're into pixel art, I genuinely suggest picking up Sprite whenever it's on like sale for Steam. And another question I had is, what's your favorite media? Video games and music, like downright. Music just because it's so easy to digest and just consume, and it just sounds pretty. And video games because I love interactive stories. It's my favorite thing. And I especially love video games like Little Big Planet that the entire premise is to create. And similar to that question, I was also asked what my top fandom is. And surprise, surprise, I'm not really big into fandoms. Like, I've never extensively like reached out and made fandom content or really interacted with fandoms, but if Little Big Planet had like a for sure fandom, everyone would know me. I'd be the top guy. I'd be like, hey bro, that's literally Sackboy in real life. And I'm like, yeah, totally. I've also got another question of what's your rendering process? Any tips for beginners? I'm gonna preface this by saying I render really weirdly, and I don't see many other people do this, but this is my process. So first, I make my initial sketch and I clean it up a little bit. I don't do line art at all. Then I make a layer under my sketch and lay out all my flat colors. Sometimes I will shade a little bit and make it a very soft gradient, but most of the time it's straight flats. Once I do that, I merge my sketch layer and my flat color layer together to make it one layer. But before I do that, I make sure I duplicate my sketch layer in case I mess up later. And now that both of my layers are merged, what I do is I use my blending tool and I blend the sketch and the flat colors together so that it makes a whole nother range of colors. And I never use black for any of like my sketches just because it won't give me the colors that I really want. And so once I start blending with my little smudge tool thingy, I eyedrop the colors that have been mixed together, and I'll usually use that for shadows and like future like outlines and stuff. That's pretty much it. That's all I do. And I also really like using my tools and programs. Like any tone curve, I will abuse that till the day I die. I'll use shading assist. I really like using those tools just because they're there for a reason. They help you and they make your pieces look awesome. It's just like, use what is there. All right. That's all the questions I really want to answer just because they all kind of have they all have kind of a common theme. I've also been asked about the My Little Pony stuff. The last installment comes out next week. I'll see if I do any future stuff. So I know I said I was going to include art advice, and I kind of think I did, but let me just set it like clear in stone right here and now. 1, please experiment. Use a different brush. Try out those new colors. Experiment with glue and shit together. There is never any harm in doing something out of your comfort zone. The only thing that will happen is you will explore something new and you will gain new knowledge. And if you're scared about what other people will think about your art, maybe it looks super bad, don't share it with other people. You do not have an obligation to show anybody what you make because art is always going to be personal to you. Also, another thing, don't be shamed in using tools. You cannot cheat in art. It does not matter if you use a circle tool or you trace a 3D model you've made or you use tonal curve to get your colors right. It doesn't matter. It's your shit. You make it. You do what you want with it. If somebody has a problem of you using your tools the way you want to use them, they can go fuck themselves. It doesn't matter. It's not their artwork. They shouldn't have any say in it. And another thing, you shouldn't ever feel ashamed about the things you make because those things are personal to you and your character. Because I know that there will always be someone out there who not only will love your art, but they'll love you and how you express yourself. And don't let anybody take that away from you. Because art is the purest form of expression that you can get nowadays. Well, that's all I have to say. So, bye-bye. See you next week.